9 seconds in 9 o'clock.
It's exactly 9 o'clock.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the Human Utilities and Roading meeting, and so we'll start with apologies. We've got apologies from Dean for lateness. Any other apologies? No other apologies. Conflicts of interest. I'll remove that apology for lateness for Dean. Move Nikki, second by Councillor Redmond. All in favour? Passed. Conflicts of interest. Any conflicts of interest? No conflicts of interest. Right, we'll move on to confirmation of minutes. We're going to move Councillor Redmond and second to Councillor Ward. Right, I've got that. All in favour?
Aye.
Carried. Against? Carried. Right, have we got any? I'll go to the notes of the utilities meeting. Okay, so matters arising. Have you got any matters arising? No matters arising. Deputation presentations, we've got nil. So we'll bring up 5.1 flood recovery. So we've got Kelly Simpson. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the purpose of this report is to give you an update on our ongoing flood recovery progress. So we're at 79% complete for the investigation work, and we hope to have it all wrapped up by the end of April, so the end of next month. Maintenance actions are at 98% complete, and just for clarity, that actually means that we've done the assessment and the works have either been undertaken or got programmed to be undertaken. So effectively the flood team have got to a point that we know what we need to do there. In terms of the three key focus areas, the Cam River Ruataniwha. So ECAN are currently working in the upper reaches of the Cam River. So the works that they're doing there is removing the vegetation from the bank, so it's quite heavy maintenance, and they're expected to be completed by the end of April. In the Tuahiwi area, we have undertaken some works on the lower Tuahiwi stream, and also in the reach between Greens Road and Churchbush Road. We have identified the need to do some upgrading works on the diversion drain that goes from the corner of Te Pāpatuki Road and Greens Road out to the Cam River. So that work entails upsizing a culvert. There's a section of drain that needs to be regraded and another section that needs to be widened out. So these works are planned to be undertaken before winter. In Waikuku Beach, there's probably two things going on. One is we've got a lot of smaller projects that we're going around and addressing localised upgrades that need to be implemented. We've also got another package of work where we're looking at the backwater or the extent of flooding that occurred in the Taranaki stream during the event. And there's been a number of different factors that have been speculated as to the cause of that, whether it was just purely the amount of rainfall that we had, whether there was backflow out of the Ashley River, whether some of the works, even the causeway between Pegasus and the beach has been identified as potentially whether that was stopping some of the floodplain within the coastal area being utilised. So we've got some modelling work that's currently underway, but that's going to take a number of months to complete. So it's not going to be more until the middle of this year that we actually have a better understanding of what actually caused the Taranaki stream to flood to the extent that it did. From a financial perspective, we've spent about $2 million out of the $4 million. We're not going to have it all spent by the end of the financial year. We're currently just doing some work to work out where are we going to get to with our works. But in terms of the total overall budget, we're still expecting to be within the budget of the $4.055 million. So happy to take any questions.
I'll just add one further thing on the Taranaki stream. So Kelly is right, there is quite a wide investigation in the catchment which will include modelling. There is some funding identified in the infrastructure strategy just outside the LTP timeframe for a major upgrade. But you will recall we deployed some very large capacity pumps in the Taranaki stream during that flood. So we have added the Taranaki stream to one of our key areas that we will monitor. So we, whenever there's a storm coming, we usually have days of notice and we start gearing up. And we've been doing this in Kaipoi for a number of years, and sometimes we'll actually deploy pumps in advance of the storm, or sometimes get ready to bring them if we need to. And that's going to be the situation with the Taranaki stream. So that's pretty much on our permanent list of areas that if a storm is approaching, we'll be monitoring it, and we'll monitor it throughout the storm. And if we need to, we'll deploy pumps until there's a more permanent solution identified and implemented. And it is possible that one of the options that we would look at is continue to do that on an ongoing basis, bringing in pumps when needed rather than necessarily fixed. But it's far too early to speculate what that might be. But the key thing for residents of Waikaku Beach is we are actively managing the catchment.
Thank you. A question from Councillor Mealings.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Slightly aside from that, in the Cam River catchment, you're talking about some of the stop banks. Are any of the stop bank improvements that you're talking about around where, if you're familiar with Aotearoa, where that is there, where the planting project for Aotearoa has been undertaken, just kind of by the motorway bridge there. I understand that they're looking to do something with stop banks there. Is that part of any of these works?
There's probably a number of different sections of the Cam River Stop Bank that we're looking at. Two of the sections are located upstream of Brandon's Road. There's two sections downstream, and the two sections downstream are being undertaken by Environment Canterbury. We were aware that the stop bank overtopped near the motorway bridge, and you might recall in the August meeting last year, John Cook did a deputation to this committee and showed a video of the stop bank overtopping at that location. There's no immediate works to look at implementing any upgrades there at the moment. Environment Canterbury are considering that as part of their scheme design report. I think though your point is effectively we need to make sure that any stop banking works are coordinated with any planting that has been or is proposed to be undertaken as part of the Aroha Te Awa project.
Yeah, it would be good to know, but they haven't done any planting in that area because they're waiting, because the Can had indicated that they're looking to do some work on that stop bank. And I was just wondering where that's at. So, and just on your table on 4.2, you've got here that the Wilson Drive project has been tendered. So the tender has been awarded? Or is out for tender?
I think it has actually recently been awarded. I'd have to confirm that, to be honest.
So we don't know when any works might happen.
We're still anticipating that that would be completed this financial year.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ward.
Just with the Taranaki stream and Waikaku and the outlet of the Ashley, would it help, or is if they can make the outlet, if they can make it straight out to sea quicker, would that help the backup of flooding backup, which would maybe assist in getting waters away out of those areas into the Ashley before going out, or is that not something that can happen?
One thing that we have identified as part of our on-site investigations is that the channel on the estuary side of the stop bank, so where, and it's not so much the Taranaki stream, but it's actually more the Waikuku stream and some of the other discharges that come out from the Kings Avenue side of Waikuku Beach. The downstream channel, so on the opposite side of the stop bank, actually needs maintenance work to ensure that the gravity systems work as best that they can. So we're coordinating that work with Environment Canterbury, but because at the moment all of the systems in Waikuku Beach are gravity discharges, as soon as we get high river levels or high tide levels, we effectively don't have any positive drainage from that area. So we need to make sure our channels are in good condition as possible, but we're still restricted by certain tailwater conditions which prevent discharge.
Yeah, probably a little bit of that. So that's, I think, perhaps getting more to your point about the management of the Ashley River itself. You'll recall in one of the relatively recent floods, at the height of the flood, the Ashley River blew the south out and new mouth, which was in a direct line. So for many years, the river had moved itself north, and most storms it had just stayed like that. But during that storm, there was such a high flow that it actually breached and scoured out a whole new mouth, which is a natural occurrence. And so over time, just during times where you've got sediment drifting up along the coastline and the river mouth will do what it does, it'll move further north. To manage that in a way that continuously kept it as an open, direct mouth would, I imagine, be a very big challenge, because you're effectively fighting nature to try and do that. But I'm not saying it's not out.
If there's an imminent big rainstorm bomb arriving, like, we get notice, and there's not a direct channel out to sea, but would it be best to sort of get some gear in there and make sure there's a direct outflow prior to the rainfall?
Sure, okay. No, I'll just finish. So
Sorry.
that's all right. So Environment Canterbury have identified in their long-term plan that they propose, I think they've got $15 million signalled over the next decade for the Ashley River. So part of that is, and we certainly at staff level are very keen to see that progress. But that's looking at the entire Ashley River. So right from the river mouth right up past the field all the way out to the confluence of the Waikuku. Part of that work is going to be looking at what is the capacity of the Ashley River, which would include the river mouth. I would expect that it's going to identify upgrades to the stock banks and potentially secondary stock bank requirements as well in parts of that river scheme. So in terms of containing the Ashley River itself, that will be part of the consideration, and I'll take your question and we can put that to the river engineers and Environment Canterbury, whether that's a realistic management strategy for them, to whether they go out and preemptively consider, when there is a forecast for a big flow, whether then there could be some work. So we can ask that question. One thing we'll need to be conscious of is tying that work that Environment Canterbury are doing in with our Taranaki work, because say we go for a pump solution in the Taranaki, would be less reliant on having a lower riverbed in the Ashley stream. But if Ashley River, But if Environment Canterbury are anticipating works that will actually continuously keep the Ashley River more open, that may impact on our thinking. But it's a good question, and we'll take it up with the river engineers.
Well, my theory or point might be is that looking at secondary stock banks, would it be helpful if a stock bank was west of the Taranaki and the Kings Road, so which would try and alleviate, would give better access for water going out of Taranaki and Kings into the Ashley if there's a stock bank, creating a flow away from the outlets of those going out to sea, maybe.
Look, it's really too early to say. They've got to do their modelling and they'll look at different options. I do know it's possible. There may need to be secondary stock banks upstream of Raniora and also downstream. So that, we're going to be quite actively engaging.
Thank you. The question for me is, it's really good to see 98% of the work scoped and ready, but the crux of the matter is how much of that percentage, not talk about the 2%, but the rest of it is ready for work to be done, and will that work be done before the rains start coming this winter? And have you got enough budget to do all that work?
In terms of the maintenance work, so the 98% of maintenance actions that have been identified and passed on to our maintenance contractors, they are very busy at the moment working on that package of work. We understand they have more capacity if need be, so we're confident that that work will be completed prior to winter.
And there's enough budget for you as well?
Yes, that is correct. There is adequate budget.
Okay. Councillor Fulton?
Thanks, Chair. I'm interested, Kelly, in your scope of your assessment there, whether the assessment of backflow will include the impact of housing growth on backflow. I've been to a couple of scientific field days yesterday, Kaipoi and around Waikuku a couple of times. Everyone talks about backflow and what's happened since housing's gone in. So is this a periodic review that's happened?
Yes. So as part of both the Taranaki stream work that we are doing the modelling work for, as well as the Cam River end design work that ECAM doing modelling for, both of those scenarios will consider the changes with additional development occurring within the catchments over the past 20-30 years. And so for the Taranaki stream work, both Pegasus and Ravenswood, they've put in stormwater management systems to mitigate the downstream effects. So having a look at it on a catchment-wide basis, we'll be able to demonstrate that that systems that are put in place has been adequate to mitigate any downstream effects. Because it is a question, like you've fielded over the last few days, that's a question we quite often get asked as well.
Yeah, and I suppose just to give you that, Chair, is that I hear and see a lot of talk about pumping, and it repeats it, like the Macintoshes pump, is it? That was an example yesterday, that's all very good. You also see the diminishing of those soak spaces where water just sat and filled for a couple of months. That's of some interest as in the zone committee looks to fund some of these wetland recovery projects. So I just sort of offer that as a thing sort of piece, because when we're looking to fund the zone committee, we need to know what the capacity of the housing is and how it affects the land range.
Cool. Thank you very much. We've got somebody to move the report. Move Councillor Mealings, and second move Councillor Ward. Any comments? No. I'll put that, all in favour? Against? Carried, okay. Now we move on to correspondence, which we've got no portfolio updates. We've got Rogan, Councillor Redmond.
They took me by surprise. Going back on my agenda. Well, we're heading into autumn, as you know, it's getting. Sorry, as you know, we're heading into autumn. It's getting a bit colder in the morning and hard to get out of bed sometimes. There are a number of construction projects progressing, and 2 new projects are about to start. First one, staff are continuing to work with the Selwyn District Council on the Waimakariri Gorge Bridge deck replacement project. There are also resealing and pavement rehabilitation programs which are continuing, and they should be complete by early April. The autumn leaf fall is just starting and will become a key area of focus over the next couple of months. And as we know, it's important to keep those channels and drains clear. Capital, I mentioned the Waimakariri Gorge Bridge deck replacement. That has been awarded to Fulton Hogan. Scaffolding will be installed next week on the 25th of March, and night works to replace the deck will begin straight after Easter. The River Road upgrade project has been awarded to Stockforth Construction, and Mr Chair, you'll be interested to note that work is commencing this week. It's already started. Island Road and Ahoka Road intersection, if you travel down that way you'll know that work has begun. Higgins Limited are carrying out the works which they've begun on widening the areas and preparing the first curb pour. The first of the signal pole foundations have also been poured. Curb and channel contract is continuing, and Pigeon Contracting have completed work on Edward Street and have now moved into Geddes Street. Palmer Street upgrade has been awarded to EDR Contracting, and work started on site late last month and includes curb and channel renewal, water main, stormwater and footpath renewal work. Some other items, the Double Days footbridge is currently closed. Repairs are being agreed and priced, and the repairs will need to be completed before the bridge reopens to the public, and that work's expected to take about 3 weeks. Pavement rehabilitation work on Tram Road is now complete. There was one area that failed by the tie-in between the old and new pavements. This work was identified early and repaired very quickly by contractor Cord, and staff will continue to monitor that. Pavement rehabilitation is also underway on the western end of South Eyre Road, and that's the last site to be completed during this summer construction season. Resealing has been completed on Ashley Gorge Road and Rangiora Woodend Road. New sewer mains in Rangiora, as you heard earlier, along King Street is continuing. King Street is closed southbound from Blackett Street to High Street, and the King Street High Street roundabout is being closed overnight for reconstruction and resurfacing. In Kaiapoi, Smith Street remains closed to eastbound traffic between Charles Street and Cass Street for the installation of the new water truck main. There is actually a traffic sign there, a variable speed sign, suggesting vehicles travelling north take a detour along Ranfurly Street to the north, and that also includes heavy trucks. The intention is to try and keep heavy trucks off Charles Street, where it has been observed by one landlord that his veranda he was coming under attack. So with the heavy trucks taking heat of that water, I'm not sure. Smith Street, obviously remark our road markings have been underway in Rangiora, and the road marking team will be moving on to Kaiapoi next. Development related, there are changes coming up as the work on South Belt moves further west. South Belt will be closed at the Pentecost Road intersection for 3 weeks while the intersection is upgraded and the water main extended through this area. There will be a section of one way from Rouse Street to Martin Street. After 3 weeks, it's expected South Belt will reopen to westbound traffic from Townsend Road. And finally, a road safety item. The rider road safety program was delivered recently to a group at Rangiora High School. This is a popular program and was well received by the students. The program aims to provide students with the tools and understanding they need to see themselves as active, responsible road citizens. And I think in the last month there was also a motorcycle training program that Pete Daly Road operates, and that was carried out. I'm not sure what it was like, Cookery, somewhere over that way. So anyhow, that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Is any questions? Question for myself. Do we know what the cause of that failure of that resealing was done? And
On Trent Road.
on Trent Road, and I see Cord's fixing it. So was it a what was the cause of that failure? Do we know?
I haven't heard. I don't know if Jodie has heard.
I actually haven't had a chance to debrief with Cord and our staff yet to try and understand what that was, but it is something that I will be following up on.
And I know it's being fixed. My concern is if it's a contractor that hasn't quite done their work properly, who pays for it? Is it the ratepayer or the contractor?
They do. If they have to repair it and it's due to workmanship, then that's it.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you. Right, so we'll move on to drainage stopwater 3 waters myself. The UV treatment installation project continues to progress well. There will be a number of shutdowns over the coming months as works to enable the installation of the new pipework to connect the UV units. The shutdowns will typically last for between 4 and 8 hours, and customers will be advised in advance. Wastewater. There has been a decrease in the number of bird deaths of avian botulism, indicating that the outbreak is over, so that's pretty good. The numbers were far less than other years when there's been an outbreak. Drainage. There is a long-term drop-in meeting focused on the Mandeville Research and Channel upgrade on the 11th of April at 7 to 9 at the Hoka Domain Pavilion. Letters have been sent to all residents that made a submission on the consultation last year, and a letter drop will go to those residents along the route on stage 1 works. The purpose is to inform residents of proposed works and budget included in the draft long-term plan. The round of drainage advisory groups is currently underway, and there is a push to complete the drainage maintenance works prior to winter. I'll just add a wee thing. At the last drainage meeting we had, exactly what the breakaway at the Ashley River was discussed, and all of the long-term people in that area were concerned. If you look from the Ashley main highway bridge, there's a big build-up of island of gravel sitting there now, and that has turned the direction of the water, and they're concerned that that is causing a lot of acting like a dam type effect, creating the water not to flow through the Ashley quickly enough and cause a breakout early enough when we do get floods. So that's been really a hot topic of the drainage meeting for ECAN, because it's ECAN's problem to see if they can sort that problem out. Why they think it's been sitting there for such a long time, is full of seeds and no gravel people wants to purchase that gravel for concrete works because it's got seeds in it, so it's to remove and dump somewhere, so there's a wee bit of conflict on that level. So that's all from me. Is there any questions? We'll move on to solid waste. Councillor O'Brien.
I've got some notes here, so pass them over to you. Curbside standardisation has been implemented, and to date we appear to comply with the Ministry for the Environment's requirements by updating our website to itemise the changes and providing links to the relevant pages. Eco-Educate staff continue to talk about the changes to groups of residents and people with supermarkets, aquatic centres, libraries, service centres and some markets and volunteer expos. The curbside bin audits, this has been pushed out for restarting after Easter, owing to staff being on leave through March. Staff in Gerard Cleary will be meeting with EcoGas representatives in early April. This is the company building the City Council's new organics processing plant. This is a biodigester for the food scraps, which not only will generate heat and energy. The liquid digestate is a liquid fertiliser. This plant will include a process to shred and dry the woody portion of the organics bin to create a biofuel which can be used in boilers and replacing coal. Please don't ask me any questions about the next one because I have no idea. Kitty's on leave. I tried to get hold of her yesterday, but Denise and Kitty met online with representatives from Tetra Pak and Saveboard to see if it would be feasible for us to have a liquid paperboard carton drop-off boxes in the district. He reported that the best product is received where there are staff overseeing the box to ensure the cartons have been cut open, opened out, cleaned before they're brought in, and the most contamination is seen at transfer stations where there is sporadic staff oversight of the drop box. However, we will continue to look at options for this. Saveboard is made into a building product that is used to line the inside of houses, and this is made in Hamilton. He's been told that Kaikooi now has a plastics recycling drop-off at New World, which is good to hear. So, as I say, please don't ask me about Tetra Pak and Saveboard because it's a new technology I've never heard of before, so I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. That's it from me.
Thank you. Any questions from Councillor Fulton?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Robbie, I'm interested in the Christchurch biodigester and how it will deal with wood waste. Yesterday I was out looking at Lee's Road, and there was a local doing a substantial amount of cutting of willows, and someone had to say there's a real commercial demand there for wood chips, any type of chips at the moment at an industrial level. Even Fonterra dairy plants are converting from coal to wood chips. So I just wondered whether, what we do currently with our wood waste, do we actually mulch it and chip it? And,
Well,
every time the greenspan chops down a tree, what do we do with it?
I guess the answer very much depends on the person that's doing the work. If they take it to the transfer station and apply it as green waste, it will end up where it should be. And so it depends on the.
I'm thinking of trees, especially like our stockback work on willow trees. We chop down massive willows, and that could be chipped and reused.
So, look at all of our organics that we collect from the curbside goes to the facility at Bromley, and in the future will go to the energy centre that is being created, and as Councillor Bryan described, that part of that process will have one of their products will be a wood chip, or I'm not sure what you call it, a wood product that will be available for sending off for people to use in boilers instead of coal. With our green waste that comes into the transfer station, that goes to Canterbury Landscapes for composting. For our work where we're removing trees, either whether that's green space or us through the drainage contract, that's managed in an appropriate way, depending on the project, but a lot of it is actually chipped. It often does end up being the easiest way to manage it, and then put to use, because it's a useful product. So, it's, I suppose where it all ends up depends, but yeah, it's certainly, generally speaking, it is chipped. Sometimes sometimes for some of the work that happens in just out on the road where there's been work done, we'll often just leave it in biscuits, and then people are free to take that and use it in there as firewood as well. So there's a little bit of a community good from some of those as well, which saves us having to dispose of it.
Yeah, that was just a point that I hear, private lot owners of wood, they say, well, they want to remove it, shovel it, so it's very expensive to someone come and do that. But at a certain scale, actually, there's an opportunity to chip wood.
Thank you. Just for a wee bit of adding to that, I believe on the drainage side, all of Willows down Flaxton Road was chipped, and that was sent to either a school or the hospital burners for repurposing on that type of thing. So it was quite good to see. So we'll move on then to transport. Mia's not here, so then we'll move on to 8.1, and we've got Kieran and Shane Lee, but Joanne's going to be presenting it. Can you turn your mic off, Robbie, please?
Sorry.
Right, good morning. So the first of our two reports for the Kaipoi North School pedestrian crossing improvements was first presented to the KTCB back in November last year. The report seeking approval for changes to the existing pedestrian crossing and line marking on William Street outside the Kaipoi North School. Concerns have been raised by both the school and the community regarding two separate safety issues. The first one is safety and visibility and speed past the school, and the second one is the accessibility of the crossing itself for those in wheelchairs or pushing prams or generally less mobile. Unfortunately, due to the delay of getting the report to UNR, it is unlikely that we will be able to complete the project in two stages. So the report refers to two stages of work, one being this financial year to address the line marking and the speed and the safety outside the school, and next year we had intended to do some work to improve the accessibility of the pedestrian crossing. So at this stage it looks like, depending on the outcome of today, we would look to combine the works, carry over the budget and do it all next year. There is a little bit of work to do to see whether or not there is some component of the project we could do this year. I'll take the report as read and open any questions.
Any questions? One for myself. On 3.5, 3.2.3, mobility, due to the geometry of William Street, pedestrian crossing not accessible for wheelchairs, prams, mobility scooters and all that. Is there anything we can do to design something? So that's probably one of the big targets of getting these crossings and all that done. So is there a way we can do something to help these people?
Yeah, it's been a really tricky site. We haven't done the detailed design on that, but I have had some surveys taken and run some numbers. Currently the plan would be to install a small retaining wall against the boundary and build the footpath up so it will mean raising the school's fence. And that way we can get a 1 in 12 grade from the footpath to the edge of the current road. And then we need a 1.2 metre level platform for the tactile indicator pavers before you hit the pedestrian crossing. So yes, it is achievable, but it is very tricky and very tight.
So it will get locked into this. Okay.
So it's part of the second stage.
No questions? And you've got a mover. Move Councillor Redmond, second Councillor Bryan. Councillor Redmond.
Just to say that this was discussed at the Kaiapoi Community Board and they were unanimous on the final recommendations. I don't think the board was aware that all the work was going to occur next year, but if that's how it is, I guess that's how it is. So there has been a bit of chatter on social media about pedestrian crossing at the school, and obviously concerns from the school. So these proposed works are intended to make the whole corner, and it's not an intersection by the North School, to make it much safer. So I'm more than happy to support the recommendations, and whether it's done this year or the next financial year, it's going to be done.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Right, so no other comments? So we'll write a reply?
No.
No. So I'll put that all in favour.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Now we move to 8.2. And we've got Joanne and Kieran again.
Thank you. So the second report we've got today is seeking approval of the installation of 3 pedestrian refuge islands and the associated no stopping lines that go with them. The report that you've got in front of you is the second version of the report. It was updated following the first presentation. The report was tabled at the community board. And I guess also at the last meeting, one board member noted the cost on the refuge islands, which I don't believe was actually in the report, so there was some confusion around that. So just to clarify that, the 2 Ivory Street refuge islands have already been priced up at $34,000 for the 2 of them. The West Belt refuge island was priced up at $19,000, but that excluded the cost of the proposed build-out. And that proposed build-out will add a further $5,000 to $8,000. That's yet to be determined. At the March Rangiora Community Board meeting, that report received some good, solid debate, with the members suggesting that staff develop a policy framework in regards to where these facilities should be installed, which staff will take on board. The 3 sites in question is Ivory Street outside the Bainswood Rest Home. There was some comment that the distance between the proposal and the existing refuge location on Buckham Street was short at approximately 150 metres. The second one on Ivory Street is outside KFC, and concerns that were raised at the board meeting included that the location would impact on the traffic flow on Ivory Street, potentially put pedestrians in danger due to conflicts with turning traffic. And there was also a suggestion that board members, or a board member rather, would like to signalise the Queen Street intersection rather than install a pedestrian refuge. And for West Belt, some board members queried whether or not that facility was needed at all. Those concerns were all raised at the previous board meeting back in February. So following that board meeting, staff engaged WSP as the Road and Professional Services consultant to provide an independent technical note on the proposed locations and suitability. That technical note is included as Appendix 5 in the report. There was also a priority focus on the West Belt location. So the original location for that was outside 48 West Belt, where the owner was not happy about losing the on-street car parking. So staff proposed a revised plan which located that refuge slightly further north in order to retain one on-street car park. In doing that, we impacted the neighbouring properties who tow vehicles in and out of their property. So that location also didn't work. So the version that you've got today, and there's also the same one that was approved by the board, locates the refuge back in front of number 48, but includes the curb build out to retain on-street parking and ensure that the vehicles can access the driveway of number 58 and 60. So staff have gone over and above to try and please everybody at the site. And in doing so, it will mean that the northbound traffic on westbound have to deviate significantly more than the southbound to avoid that refuge island. Yeah, so I think that's the history of this one for you. I'll take questions from here.
Before we go, I'd like to propose that we actually bring these 3 crossings as separate crossings, like for example on C we'll put note 3 outside KFC as a separate crossing to parcel fail, whatever we do on that. So, Councillor Redmond?
Yes, I just have some questions.
Question.
Thanks, Kieran. So I take it from what you said, we don't currently have a policy framework as to where these pedestrian refuges situated and criteria.
So no, we don't have a policy framework as such, and Joanne will no doubt correct me if I get this wrong, but we do have a lot of requests for these, and we do try and prioritise them, and we do take into account previous accident history. So, for example, on Ivory Street there has been a fatality outside KFC, and on West Belt there has been an elderly chap fall off his scooter when he was trying to, beat the traffic and go up the driveway instead of a pedestrian car.
I would just add to that, and again, while we don't have a framework currently, what we do is consider highest need and where there are areas which have higher traffic volumes, and so it's more difficult for pedestrians to be able to cross the road. So we wouldn't be putting a pedestrian refuge onto a low volume road where there's less risk. We have really concentrated around our arterial and collector roads, which have the highest traffic volume, so are the hardest for pedestrians to be able to cross.
Thank you. Where did the request come from, for example, for the pedestrian refuge on High Street or Westbound, where somebody fell off their mobility scooter, but how did that generate into a request for a refuge?
So they can come through a number of different avenues. They may come in through a service request, and then we will investigate and have a look and see what pedestrian facilities there are. If we are aware of injuries to pedestrians, we will actually also note that and record that in the deficiency database, because even though the likes of Westbelt, there are no crossing facilities along the entire length from Oxford Road down to Johns. So there is a deficiency, we note that, and we look to add them to our programs as they come through, and then that comes to this committee. It goes through the community boards as our Road and Capital Works program, which we circulate each year, and that includes our minor safety improvements, of which this was one that UNI has approved previously.
So where specifically did the request come?
That one came from a service request because some member of the public had to go and help lift that man off the road and call the ambulance for him.
Do we have any data as to the number of pedestrians or mobility scooter operators who want to cross the road at these particular points? Is there any evidence of?
We don't have, we haven't done specific surveys, but we have looked at what other facilities might be in the area. So for the Westbelt one, there is a pedestrian, a street-to-street walkway just adjacent. So those street-to-street walkways generate pedestrians, so we try to locate it as close as possible to that. The Ivory Street, we know we've got no pedestrian facilities between Queen Street and Alfred Street, sorry. So we know we've got nothing in that area, and people are crossing backwards and forwards to the produce market and KFC and various other town centre things around there. So you can end up with suppressed demand. So just counting pedestrians is only one factor.
I noticed in the report too that there was a suggestion that there was going to be a residents' meeting of people affected by the refuge, in particular the one in Westbelt, which didn't appear to have happened. There was a letter from a resident that indicated
Yeah, there was no resident meeting, but following the first community board meeting, we went back to speak to specific residents in more detail. So the first time around was a letter drop, and then the second time around we spoke to them individually, but there was no street meeting.
Okay, that's all for me, thank you.
Councillor Ward?
Just to clarify, at our community board, we had a lot of debate about all these things that are here, and it was overwhelming that the community board supported all the recommendations. Is that correct?
So all of the recommendations in the report were approved at the community board level. There was a division taken, and I think the vote was 7-4-5.
9-3.
Sorry, was it? Okay, sorry, I apologise.
9-3. 4, yes, sorry, just to clarify, that was 9-3 in favour.
Question for myself. You're saying there's been no refuges between KFC and High Street. There was one in Autotech, out front of Autotech, you put there and removed because it's close to businesses and they couldn't turn them everything properly. What's the difference between the one that was there and the one you're intending to put by KFC when you've got the produce market and you've got KFC traffic coming in and out? If there's complaints that it's going to be in the way, will that be removed if it's not successful?
So we've done a lot of work with this one to check the turning curves and to place the pedestrian refuge in a location where we are confident that it doesn't prohibit truck access into the produce market. We have gone and spoken to the produce market and they are very aware of the proposal and very supportive of it. A lot of their staff are parking down in Dogger Place and are trying to cross Ivory Street on a daily basis there.
There was a report from a community board person that done a lot of homework onto the trucks backing up to turning into the produce market, which could create a danger to people rather than being a helpful situation. And I noticed you replied to it and everybody here has had that report. But to me, it doesn't answer the questions. Is it going to be safe to have that refuge there or create more of a danger with that refuge there? That also was put to the community board as well, but unfortunately, the way the report was put on the agenda, they actually couldn't vote for whether that one stayed or not. So there's a lot of controversy, particularly on that one there. So
I think actually the email that came through from the board member, which got circulated to the board with my responses, I think was pretty clear that we're balancing here which one will provide pedestrian safety, and we've done everything that we can to try and minimise the impacts on the businesses. And it very clearly showed that there was space for a vehicle to pass around a turning vehicle into the produce market, and that I believe my email was clear that I believe we are not making the situation any worse. The issue with the produce market and vehicles turning in and out is an existing issue. What we are trying to do is provide a safer crossing point for pedestrians. And we've done everything that we can to minimise impact on vehicles moving in and out of those businesses.
So has there been a safety report, an independent one on that particular one?
Yes, there is, and it's within the report that you've got on the agenda.
So it's an independent one from
Yes.
council?
It's done by WSP, who are our safety audit and safety engineers.
Oh, okay.
I'd like to move the recommendation, please.
Councillor Ward going to move, the second to Councillor Bryan.
Yes, we've had a lot of, I really appreciate all the consideration and the work that you've done, and I know that you've listened to all the residents and all the business people, and I understand where you've come from. I thoroughly approve of what the conclusions you've come to. I know down Ivory Street in particular, it's not safe to just, for anybody, particularly elderly at Ainswood, trying to cross across the road. And so these islands are going to give them protection, and they won't impact on the vehicles progressing down south and north at all, but it will give protection for particularly elderly people trying to cross the road. I know, but in particular myself, walking home from High Street through to Northbrook Road, it's like you take your life in your hand and you run across the road, whereas if you can safely get to the middle section and wait for the traffic lights to give relief, but then for particularly older people it's much safer. So I think what you've planned and what the work that you've done is correct, and I'm going to thoroughly approve of this recommendation.
Councillor Bryan?
So it's fair to say that this was one of the most contentious things I think I've seen around the community board for some time. For some reason there were 3 divisions called on because of the items were split up, and at the conclusion of each item the division was called, and as Councillor Ward has pointed out, the vote was 9-3 from the community board in favour of the recommendations in the staff report. One of the arguments put up by community board related to cost, and I make the comment that I found it abhorrent that we were comparing road safety to the potential cost of these refuges. I also made the comment, and I apologise if you've heard the story before, but back in Save, when we were discussing the situation there, I would get off my bike and walk across so I could use the pedestrian, and walk across the lights so I could use the pedestrian refuge on foot to carry on down Flaxton Road to work. That pedestrian refuge is vital, and I think these are all vital as well. But I reaffirm that this matter has been through the community board, and whilst there was a lot of debate, the vote was 9-3.
Councillor Redmond?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had some problem that I'm not quite over the line on this one. I would like to see more of a policy behind the installation of these refuges. It's number one. Secondly, pedestrians do have a choice where they wish to cross the road. Unfortunately, businesses and residents don't. They're fixed in position. So I am concerned that some of these refuges can have a significant impact on the affected residents, and in particular the Westbelt example. I also read the correspondence from board member Kirsten Barnett, which I thought asked some very good questions. The one suggested on Ivory Street for Bainswood, I'm still not quite sure why they would want to cross the road immediately in front of Bainswood, where you can walk further north and cross by Countdown, where it seemed to me Countdown would probably be the destination, possibly if they wanted to be on the other side of the road. So it seemed a wee bit of duplication. It wasn't going to save any distance at all. It just depended where they were going to cross. So I'm not going to support the recommendation on this occasion. I had thought of a procedural motion of letting it lie on the table. The council board put there at the post there. I really would like more information and look at the impact of these sorts of things. So I'm not quite over the line at this point.
Councillor Wheelings?
Thank you. These recommendations have obviously been well traversed and discussed at the community board level, and generally those people know their place, as in the place that they know. As far as the Westbelt pedestrian refuge goes, I've actually been approached myself by residents that live a couple doors down from this, asking for this very thing. It's a really wide road, it's busy, there's really no place for pedestrians to safely cross there. And I think that this would be a welcome addition, particularly given that there has been an accident here, and probably the person that picked that person up is probably the person that has spoken to me about this many times. And as for the Ivory Street one, I have faith in the fact that you have done your homework with the dimensions and also are required to get a safety audit. And also I refer back to the fact that the community board did support this. The proposed crossing point here, if we're looking at where the crossings are right now, Countdown is actually a good way down from where we're proposing this. And the light is also a good way up. Now we all know pedestrians, well, jaywalking is a phrase for a reason, and lines of desire, which is a really nice way of saying they cross where they want to cross. But this is one of those places, and that area is busy, and those businesses are busy, but there are ways for the traffic to come in and out of, like the produce market, for instance, with the building next door. And I think all of us that have ever shopped there have pulled in one way and come out the other. So I think that they have options there. Anyway, it remains to be seen whether or not it's going to be a problem. If it is, I'm sure you'll rectify it. And in this instance, I'm going to support that motion as.
Yes. My thoughts on it, I won't be supporting it. Number one, in Westbelt, every resident down there do not want it. We've been approached, they've mellowed a wee bit because it's been moved away from their properties to a different person. The property outside where it's going now, they're concerned on parking, so from the people crossing from the west home there, I actually physically can't see why they'd want to cross the other side of the road anyway. It's so from the elderly point of view, they're not wanting to cross that side of the road, and this was instigated by one person falling off a mobility scooter, and which actually happens quite regular all round Rangiora, with clipping curbs and some of the rough footpaths and even in places. So I can't support that one there. The one on Ivory Street, there actually is two refuges there already. one each side of Countdown. They're quite wide apart, so people don't actually have to travel very distance to get to one of these refuges now. If the people from Bainswood really want to go to the supermarket, well, there's no difference in travelling on the western side of the footpath to get to that refuge, but if they cross the road on this new refuge, they're still going to have to carry that same distance on the eastern side to walk there, so there's no great benefit for those people. So I think it's a waste, and we talk about a busy road. Even the police have hit these pedestrian refuges on Ivory Street. That's how a bit of a worry it is. I noticed the one that Councillor Bryan was mentioning, the South Books, looked like it's been hit by a car in the last few days or a couple of weeks. It's all sitting there damaged and mangled. So cars are hitting these there. It's mentioned about a fatality opposite KFC. That person walked out, they lived right opposite there. They wouldn't have got to a refuge before they were hit by a car. So I don't know why that was brought up. That unfortunate accident there, accidents happen, but that person was hit by a car, which is a bit unfortunate. But I think we could be creating a worse scenario with particularly the one outside the KFC, the produce market, because there's a lot of traffic movements here with trucks turning in and out all the time. And by putting a refuge there, you're going to back up the traffic, and you're going to look at the truck stopping because another truck stopping there, a car pulling up there and hitting the back of a truck, or actually hitting a refuge to taking evasive action. So I personally think we're worsening the scenario there than, and if it goes ahead, and it looks like it probably is, Councillor Mellon said, oh, if it doesn't work, we'll pull them out. There's a big cost of pulling them out as well as putting them in. So, but anyway, I'll be opposing this motion. Okay. Right, so nobody else.
Do I have a right to reply?
Right to reply, yes.
I just think that all these are very, very necessary. These have been well thought out. The Westbelt one, we have a lot of people who live in Rylands who are on mobility scooters that want to come down and access through into Rangiora. They need a safe passage through. The residents have been consulted. The people who are concerned still get a park outside. You must remember that they've also got a driveway that they can have access to. So a lot of people in Christchurch don't even have a park outside or access up their own drive to come in and out. So that has been the solution has been found. As far as Ivory Street is concerned, I think it's really, really important outside Kentucky Fried Chicken that it's further south and it's right there where it's clear, where people are turning, people are coming through. It gives a safe passage in the middle of the road. It's not like a pedestrian crossing where people have to stop and back up to allow people to completely come across. It's just a safe passage in the middle of the road where people can be safe, where they can transit halfway and then wait for a break and then safely transit across the road. So that is really, really important. You've covered off with all the businesses there. It shouldn't be an issue. As far as further south, there's a lot of residents in Northbrook Road area, myself included, who like to walk and need to and access just on Ivory Street South from people coming around the corner fast. It's really, really helpful to be able to have a safe halfway point when waiting for the traffic lights, particularly to get halfway and then halfway across without transiting right up. If you're coming to High Street, you don't want to be going right up to, then you want to go down Isabella Street somewhere there. So I think what you've thought out is really good. It's a safety thing, and I will be supporting this. And thank you.
I'll put that. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? No. That's carried. What division on that one? Something else.
Councillor Williams,
No.
Councillor Bright,
Aye.
Councillor Mealings,
Aye.
Councillor Redmond,
No.
Councillor Ward,
Yes.
It's carried 3-2. Right, so we'll move on to questions, understanding orders, we've got none. Urgent general business, we've got none. Matters to be considered in public excluded. So I think I'll move into public excluded, seconded by